One of my first trips into Mogadishu, I got off the plane, and as I'm walking out to meet Nick in the truck and his team that was there, a young boy, he couldn't have been more than 14 or 15, walks up to me, and he has an AK-47 in his hand, and he points it at me. And the boy looks at me and in broken English says, "I'm going to kill you." And so my only thought was a quick internal prayer. And I said, "Why do you want to kill me? What have I done? I'm just here to feed your people, you. I'm here to serve y'all." And he says, "Well, I'm going to kill you because you're one of those missionaries." And that's how he said it. And the only thing I could think of, honestly, was to ask him, "Well, what do you mean by a missionary?" And he says, "Well, you're one of those trained preachers from those schools, and you've come here to change us." And I said, "Well, if that's your definition, that's not me. I've never been to a trained school to teach me how to preach or anything." And he said, "But you're a Christian." And I said, "Absolutely. I'm a child of God. I'm a Christian. But is that wrong?" And he says, "No, we don't mind a Christian being here, but we don't want any of those missionaries here that are trained to change our culture." And he said, "Since you're not a missionary, you go on and feed our people." And from that time on, I realized that, you never know. The next time you get off in the airplane or walking through the airport, you may be killed. Somalis have this interesting statement that they make. They say this about their own country. They say, "Me and my country against the world. Me and my clan against the country. Me and my family against the clan. Me and my brother against the family. Me against my brother, me." So it wasn't much longer after that, maybe 6 months or so after that, and we had a feeding center set up there among these people. It was late afternoon, and a man walks in. I thought he was an old man by looking at him. He had on a regular Somali robe, had on a beat-up, nasty-looking jacket, and in his arms he had a bundle. It just looked like a big loaf of bread of some kind wrapped up in cloth. And so we got an interpreter. He came stumbling in, and we got him a bottle of water, and he sipped on a bottle of water. And the first things he said through the interpreter to the team and myself and those that were there, he said, "This is my only son. Save his life for me. Don't let my only son die." And that's all he said at that moment. So we had nurses, they took the little baby, and we began to talk to him, and he told us his story. That months before, he had left his village because of militia fighting, and it was he and his pregnant wife and 3 daughters. And they carried a little bit of stuff with them, and along the way, they kept going from place to place looking for food, looking for water, and they found very little. And one girl died, and they buried her just beside the path. And then another girl died, and they buried her beside the path. Then the mother gave birth out in the wilderness to this little baby boy. And he said, every morning as we walk, my young daughter would go and try to find something that had dew on it. And we would take it and rub it on the baby's lips because we had no milk. And he says, then my daughter died, and I buried her out there. And today we've come here, and you must save my son. Well, that night the little boy died. The nurses said there was just nothing they could do. They tried needles to get fluid into him, and he was probably more dead than alive when he came in. And Nick had to go sit down with this old man later that night and tell the man, your only son has died. But that gave Nick the opportunity to talk about another only son that died. And that this only son was the Son of God that died. And the old man looked at him. The old man looked at him and said, that may be true. But he said, you know, we Somalis are a people that nobody loves. We're unwanted. We're unneeded. There is no hope for us. We don't have a nation anymore. We're not even a people. We're the people that God has turned his back on. There is no hope for us. Looking back on those 8 years that we worked there, and then a few extra years after that we supported the work, we had very few people that came to faith. We planted a whole lot of seeds, gave a whole lot of cups of cold water, but we had very few people that came to faith. And it was a few years after we left, and some other teams were working with the Somalis over in Ethiopia, and a few Somalis started coming to faith. And as some of them came to faith, they were discipled better than Nick and I were able to do in our environment, and they began to share their faith. And today there are hundreds and hundreds of Somalis that have actually come to faith. Some people plant the seed, some people throw some water on it. Others get to come and share and see a little bit of a harvest. But it's all one big team. It's all different people working for the kingdom of God to see an unwanted, unloved, and a people group that says they have no hope find a hope that's in Jesus Christ.
If this story inspired you, take the steps to change your life. The first step is always to say, Jesus, help me. Come On, Let's Go distributes hundreds of similar stories of lives changed by Jesus Christ. If you want to be part of this vision, go.